when Italic launched, they launched with a membership, so it was membership only, and so that meant they were kind of trying to take like a Costco s type of model where they said, hey, to shop on our website, you have to sign up for a $60 a year membership. I think originally this was their goal is to make money on their membership base and take a very small margin on the actual
Mm.
products that were sold through Italic that were produced by their manufacturing partnerships. But I think the membership model started to constrain them in some sense. But members, had a lot of benefits, right? I am to this day an Italic member, and it's only $60 a year, and I get a $120 sign up credit, and I get $5 every time I leave a product review. So they're also trying to incentivize reviews, which is awesome. But you know, to me, it was like a no brainer, right? I'm paying a $60 membership, but I'm getting a $120 credit, and so I remember logging in like last year and being like, oh wow, I have $120 on Italic to spend. And I bought, some really nice towels that are like those huge towels. I think, one of the things we'll dive into is how they've expanded into different categories, which is a big challenge for a platform like this. Because number one, picking what products to start with and then understanding what SKUs to expand into is super challenging. But let's talk about their membership a little bit right now because we've seen membership models work really with big box retail when it comes to Costco and when it comes to like Amazon Prime. But we were just talking about Shein and Temu, where in some sense, they're similar to a very cheap Italic. There's no membership, and they're making some margin, on their products that are being sold. But I wonder what difference that experience would have if to shop on Temu or Shein if you needed a membership. And we'll see that, in 2021, Italic actually opened up their membership. But I'm curious, what do you think changed amongst that time of launching in 2018 with a membership and then 3 years later deciding, hey, we're going to open this up to the public?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that when I look at Italic, it's kind of the juxtaposition of a couple different contrary business models, right? We talked about this idea that, hey, I want to see how I can give more margin to my factory, and can I ship directly? That's like the first innovation, if you want to call it that. The second piece is consignment, and saying everything I'm going to have is going to be consigned here in the U.S. from Asia. And the third part is this idea that I'm really only going to make money from a subscription, which you mentioned is typically what you see in SaaS or what you would see in a content play. And so I think that all works if you're able to drive a lot of traffic. And so I think if Italic was the size of Costco, then they could probably have stuck with their existing business model and charged a couple $100 a year. That would have been able to service them if they were really big. That's builds a really interesting business for them as well. But I think that they have very interesting models. But my perspective is that maybe they were trying to do too much too soon, or just this idea that perhaps they didn't have the density to, how many people do you have paying $120 a year? How many people do you need to have in order for that business in and of itself to be viable? And so I think part of the reason why they wanted to open up, become a bit of a brand, try to take some of that margin themselves, was just so that they could continue and could have good economics for what's there. But I know you've been paying attention to the business a lot more than I have. Does that sound kind of on par with what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think look, when you have a membership like this that restricts your shopper base, if you will, when you can only shop on Italic if you're a member, obviously they're probably not driving the same amount of volume to factories as if when they didn't have a membership, right? And so when they open up the floodgates, quote unquote, they're probably going to send more volume to factories, which becomes more attractive to factories. But I mean, I just looked up really quickly like how many members are Costco members, and it is insane. I mean, in
Yeah.
2017, Costco had 90 million members, and as of last year, they have over 129 million. Looks like almost 130 million members. And so you think about that membership and how much revenue they're just driving from that membership alone. That is wild to think about. Part of me thinks like, should Italic have kept the membership and just thought longer term? I mean, that's another way to look at it. But I think also probably it came down to a decision of understanding two things. Number one, that their factories wanted more volume. And in order to get more volume to their factories, to their manufacturing partners, they needed obviously more people to be shopping on Italic, and they felt like that was restricted by their membership. Number two, I think that Italic realized, consumers still want to resonate with a brand, and Italic kind of, I think, flipped their script a little bit as they opened up their membership upon realizing, people actually want to be able to resonate with a brand, right? And it's not just, hey, we're a marketplace, but Italic itself now is actually a brand, right? And so I
Yep.
think it's kind of that flip that script for them that open their eyes to understanding, hey, maybe we should let go of this membership, and they still offer it and they have those special perks like I discussed, but it's not restricting people from shopping on italic.com. But with that said, I think part of that decision also came with their thesis of expanding their SKU count, because I mean, Jeremy says here, he is quoted in Forbes that when Italic started, they were more having a curation focused lens, and they started the year thinking they were going to launch 1,000 products, but they ended up launching about 100. I think especially at a small scale that Italic started with, to launch 1,000 products in a year is insane to fathom. I mean, there's some, like a Weight Luggage, for example, they have hundreds of employees. They're not launching nearly 1,000 products in a year, even if they could, or Casper, or any of these large, e-commerce brands. And so I think they set a very high goal of trying to launch 1,000 products in a year when they were opening up their membership.